Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. We have lots of the news, but I want to start again from the situation on the ground and obviously from the good news, because Ukraine was successful counterattacking Russian army and pushing it away from Ukrainian territory straight to the Russian Federation. As you see, it is happening in the Kharkiv region, but not in those major places where Russia started their counterattack around 2 months ago. I mean Volchansk and Lipsy. No, here was also the Russian attack towards Ukraine. They took a single village, it's called Sotnitsky Kozachok, under their control, and Ukraine finally was able to repel this Russian attack. Establishing control over their border, well, at first it was reported that it was just a small Russian group, the Sabotage group, which attacked Ukraine, but later on Russians sent some of the reinforcements and they occupied this village for a few of the weeks. But as you can see, Ukraine is capable to liberate its lands, especially in Kharkiv Oblast, so this is the hotspot, almost invisible, but still it's the good news for Ukraine, because Russia could have created some sort of the bridgehead later on for the major strike. But now it is not possible with the Ukrainian counterattack, and also Ukraine is successful in Volchansk, as I told you in my yesterday's video. Also, as you know, I read lots of the Russian military bloggers, and they say that the situation in Kharkiv region for them is getting terrible. Especially the situation near Hliboka village, where Russia lost some of their positions, and they complained that Ukraine sent new reinforcements, so Russians will be kicked out from the village very soon, and it's just the start of the Ukrainian counteroffensive action in its place. The similar picture is happening in Volchansk. Here we still have the Russian assault vector, but I think that it is no more. Ukraine went on counterattack, liberating this city quite successfully. It is not a fast movement, but it goes and it's good. But nevertheless, we have the report from the intelligence chief Budanov that Russia is getting ready to send more of their reinforcements, particularly to Volchansk, to keep the city under control. It seems like the Russian military command doesn't want to lose this city. Well, after all, it wasn't fully occupied, but Russia is losing the ground, but still they might throw more resources. Well, we know that unfortunately Russia is assaulting in many of the other directions, but I can speak about it a little later, because I'm always starting my videos from the good news. And there are definitely some of the good news for Ukraine. My friends, if you like the job that I do on YouTube, you might also consider supporting me on the other platforms, like for example Patreon, which is available with my personal link in the video description just below. By supporting me on Patreon, you also motivate me, because YouTube restricts many of my videos. So thank you so much for your kind support. Okay, one more Russian oil refinery facility was hit yesterday night. It happened in Rostov region, well, not really far away from the front lines. More than 50% of all of the oil refinery facilities of Russia in the European part were hit by Ukraine. It doesn't mean that all of those oil refineries ceased their operation, no, some were just damaged. But as you can see, Ukraine is working constantly to apply more and more own drone sanctions on the Russian oil, and those are definitely the most effective sanctions. About the yesterday's strike on the Mariupol airfield, well, according to the recent information, Russia might have deployed the S-300B systems out there. And there is the chance that Ukraine hit those, but we have just this image presented by some of the Ukrainian media source, so actually there is no real confirmation. Standing by for more of the satellite images. The Russian commercial aviation really struggles under the sanctions. Yesterday they lost Sukhoi Superjet. It was the test flight after some maintenance actions. 3 of the pilots were on board, no passengers, no flight attendants. Crew declared emergency. They were flying for around 1 hour, and after that they hit the ground. And here's the place of impact, right into the local forest. It happened not far away from Moscow. As you can see, there is the trace of the aircraft debris, and there was no forest fire, at least no huge forest fire. And here's the CCTV camera from the local house. As you can see, the airplane is just flying towards the ground, and this is the zoomed in image, so just stalling to the ground with no any control. Well, the initial report says that there was some sort of the engine failure. But again, this report is not very accurate, so we need to wait for some sort of the additional information. And here's the crash site itself, plus some of the debris from the airplane. I guess it was the engine. Yes, for sure it was. And there were numerous of the aviation accidents with this aircraft type, even though there were not many produced, so 3 of the catastrophic accidents were recorded, plus 2 of the accidents which didn't lead to the life loss. And this is the case happened yesterday with Gazprom Avia SSJ-100. This is the government airline, and you understand that Gazprom Avia belongs to Gazprom. It is pretty much the usual stuff that you should perform the test flight after significant maintenance, but it looks like the maintenance itself wasn't done correctly. It tells a lot about the state of the Russian commercial aviation in general. The lack of the spare parts, lack of training, and even the absence of the technical documentation to maintain the airplanes, well, it plays its role. I would say that it is absolutely unsafe to fly any sort of the airplane in Russia. SSJ is made from the Western components, mostly, but even flying the Soviet airplane is very risky, because basically those are old. Now airlines have to ground many of the airplanes to cannibalize them for the spare parts, but even that feature doesn't help. The biggest private Russian airline S7 grounds all its fleet of Airbus A320neo. They simply run out of the spare parts and they do not have the logistic chains to deliver those parts to Russia. I remember how they were happy receiving those airplanes in their fleet. They even hired some sort of the popular bloggers to make a review of the plane, but as you can see, even the new airplanes are unable to fly in the Russian skies. All because of Putin, who started this war. By the way, today there was one more serious incident connected to Sukhoi Superjet. It happened during the morning flight from Nizhnevartovsk to Mineralny Vody. Crew called for the emergency case on board, as it was reported there were some of the issues with generators. But after all, the airplane landed safely in Mineralny Vody. So so-called Russian Press General Konashenkov said that Russia destroyed 7 of the HIMARS systems for the last week. He added that those particular HIMARS systems were up to strike Crimea. He also showed the Patriot system decoys, saying that those are the real Patriots, which were demolished by Russia. 7 HIMARS, 2 Patriots. If we count how many HIMARS systems Russia already kaputted from their words, well, I don't think that America itself has that many of the HIMARS systems. Right, there is more information mostly coming from the Ukrainian sources that Belarus is ready to escalate the situation at the Ukrainian border. Sources stated that Belarus will probably try to do it after negotiations with China. By the way, the last week there were common drills with China and Belarus army. Also, the chief of the Ukrainian intelligence, Budanov, said that there is the threat from the Russian offensive from the north. He mentioned that there is no catastrophe, but it's just impossible not to see the problem existing. So probably he meant not just Russia, but Belarus and the recent provocations. Well, we don't see it on the military map updates, but even now Russia tries to enter the northern part of Chernigiv Oblast with the small groups, sabotage groups. They just cross the border, do some sort of the attack, and then go back to Russia. So the threat for the northern part of Ukraine is still very high. About the Belarus forces, well, I honestly don't think that they will be involved, but Russia might try to escalate to force Ukraine to send the reinforcements to protect Kiev, Zhytomyr and Chernigiv. And definitely Russia is looking to escalate on the north and maybe even in Kiev. The Russian Foreign Ministry representative Maria Zakharova accused Ukraine of planning to destroy the dams of Kiev hydroelectric station and the Kaniv reservoir, labeling it as another cynical provocation against Russia. So they say that Ukraine wants to make a huge disaster in its capital city of Kiev just to accuse Russia? For what? I mean, what kind of the profit it might bring? There are hundreds and thousands of the real massacre cases which Russia continued to perform in Ukraine. They even hit the children's hospital recently, and now they say that Ukraine wants to destroy its capital city for accusations. It's cringe. So what do they speak about? Here's the capital city of Ukraine, Kiev, and here's the huge water storage formed by the Dnipro River. On the northern side there is also Chernobyl station. So Russians say that Ukraine is willing to blow up this hydroelectrical power plant with the dam and let all of this water into the Kiev city, destroying the vast part of it. And here we even have the animation of how it might happen. So if the dam is destroyed, all this water just goes into the Kiev very, very fast. Here you can see the timer, those are hours and those are minutes. So in a matter of 6 hours, you may see that the vast part of the Kiev will be under the water. So the new water storage could be formed out here. touching even nearby cities like, for example, Borispol. Well, again, it means that Russia might try to do it on their own, performing the massive strike on this dam. However, this dam is really robust, and I don't think that Russia has enough conventional weaponry power to eliminate it. But again, it could be one of the variants for Russia to escalate. Obviously, it might bring chaos in Kiev. The Russian military bloggers already reported that Ukraine launched the F-16s to operate against the Russian army. They said that planes operate from the Romanian airfields, but this information is just nonsense. The planes will operate from Ukrainian airfields. It's 100%. There were some of the negotiations to put those planes to the NATO airfields, but NATO had decided not to do it because in that case, they'll escalate. For this reason, Ukraine has been supplied by lots of the air defense systems to protect those airplanes as well on the Ukrainian airfields. However, for example, the build source says that all of those Patriots and SAM-T systems that will be delivered to Ukraine will not help to defend the bordering oblasts of Ukraine. We're speaking about Chernihiv, Sumy, Kharkiv, Donetsk Oblast, Mykolaiv as well. Why is it so? Well, basically because Russia has their eyes out there. They're still capable to launch their surveillance drones, and we already know what might happen. Surveillance drone flies, it identifies the target, and just several minutes after, the Russian Iskander missile, ballistic missile, hits it. For this reason, the Ukrainian Patriot systems could be targeted by the Russian Iskanders within those surveillance drones' range. But Kiev, Lviv and Odessa could be protected, as well as many of the Ukrainian military airfields in this place or even here. About the United States' permission for Ukraine to use ATACMS against the Russian military airfields, we know that Zelensky together with Yermak went to the United States to discuss this question with Biden, but Biden refused to support that idea. Here's the article from the Foreign Policy. They say that NATO is helping Ukraine to fight, but not to win, and I 100% agree with this statement. Ukraine is basically out of the major tools, even with ATACMS permission or with the air defense systems. We understand that there is lots of the weaponry that will never be used by the United States, just stored in the storages of the United States Army. Even the outdated equipment massively supplied to Ukraine might help a lot. And we know that there are 8 of the Patriot systems available in the United States, which are also out of use and just collect dust. And just now, after 2.5 years, almost since the war had started, Ukraine started to obtain Patriots, but not enough still. So with just a tiny little part of the force of the NATO, especially the United States of America, Ukraine would be able to get rid of the Russian occupiers. Yes, now Ukraine has the support. We're speaking about 60 billion United States dollars, but Russia has invested more into their army, increasing the military budget by several times. So to compete against their force, Ukraine needs more and more munition. What Ukraine obtains will be just enough to hold the ground at some turn point, and even this military help was very hard to obtain. Just recall the Congress drama with Mike Johnson and MAGA. And let's take, for example, the artillery shell initiative from the Czech Republic. The small Czech Republic came out with this idea to collect artillery shells for Ukraine. Our allies were thinking about it for a very long time and finally agreed to donate. So now every month Ukraine obtains from 50 up to 100,000 artillery shells according to this initiative. But why didn't it came from the United States of America, from Great Britain, from France, from Germany, let's say from the big players? Why the Czech Republic? Because the Czech Republic itself is kind of small and their economy is small compared to the other big countries. I would say that without this initiative, Ukraine would have lost much more ground. So thank you, Czech Republic, you've done a great job turning the general opinion of the NATO countries into this initiative that was crucial by the time. And now Ukraine has the artillery shells, which saves Ukrainian lives. Biden writes the tweet that Russia will not prevail, Ukraine will prevail. Well, to make it happen, Ukraine should obtain lots of the new weaponry. And finally give the permission to use ATACMS missiles against the Russian airfields. Alright, there is the report from the Wall Street Journal that they say that Russia seeks to boost Trump in 2024 election. United States intelligence officials say so. They rely on the United States intelligence. How Russia might do it? Well, basically via social media. We see it everywhere on Twitter. I think that the most of the Russian propaganda is out there. So for Russia still, Trump is a more profitable candidate compared to Biden, because Trump actually wants to negotiate with Russia, just trading Ukrainian territory or sovereignty to Russia, and by supplying even less munition. Under Biden, the current vector will be kept, and Ukraine will have enough resources to repel the Russian army attacks. And it might lead to unpopular decisions in Russia, like new massive mobilization, or the Russian dictator would understand that he is unable to win this war because Ukraine has the constant support. The problem is here that allies do not give the opportunity for Ukraine to win fast. No, it seems like they want this war also to continue for quite a long time, for the Russian economy to boil and for the Russian regime to suffer little by little. And judging on the escalation scale, it is definitely like that. Because we see what kind of the weaponry Ukraine obtained. So first there were just javelins, next artillery, next HIMARS, tanks, ATACMS, finally fighter jets. So the scale is rising, but it is happening very slowly. It gives the time for Russia actually to adapt. I think that it is one of the biggest problems in this war for Ukraine. But anyways, as you can see, Russia is not agree even with Biden's strategy. They want to push Trump. And maybe Viktor Orban plays some sort of the role of mediator between Russia and Donald Trump. After meeting with Trump in Florida, Orban said that this guy is willing to make peace. But again, for what cost? Because peace for Russia is not existing matter. They will attack Ukraine once again. It's 100%, but Trump doesn't understand that, and it's the big downside of this candidate. Well, in general, it doesn't mean that Donald Trump is working for Russia, no, but it follows the Russian interests. He thinks that he is doing it on his own will, but no, Russia plays now with Trump, promising something that they will never implement in real life. I mean the long-term peace in Ukraine. So for Ukraine, I think that Biden is still better. And speaking about the Russian propaganda and promotion of the Donald Trump, well, according to the Bloomberg article, it was confirmed that Elon Musk financed the campaign of Donald Trump via some sort of the mediator companies. Unfortunately, they do not specify the sum that was transferred by Elon Musk to support Trump's campaign, but judging that this guy is one of the richest persons out there, I think that the sum is not small. And what I also think that Elon Musk bought Twitter to make it a propaganda platform. That platform has the most of the pro-Russian opinions, it has the most of the bots, the uncensored content that sometimes could be harmful, especially for the youngsters. At the same time, the platform censors of what is happening against Russia. For example, Russia struck the children's hospital, while Twitter says that it's dangerous or sensitive content. Mocking Russia is bad, but mocking Biden with Ukraine and Zelensky, well, it's great. He continued to say about the free speech or something on X platform, but basically it's nothing more than the trash bin. Elon Musk killed the bird to be the tool of the Russian propaganda or the propaganda of some sort of the conspiracy theories which simply do not exist. Yes, I sometimes complain about YouTube that it is too much fluffy, but still there are some of the rules here and I can understand those. In X, it's absolute garbage, as for me. By the way, about YouTube, there are many of the signs that Russia is going to block the platform very soon. Experts say this autumn. Also from today, the video quality, the upload speed deteriorated gradually. There were numerous of the complaints from the Russian users, and the Russian opposition sources like, for example, Meduza, obtained the information from Kremlin, from the sources, that Russia definitely wants to block the platform. On all of the Russian territory, they're working hard on it. So what is the interest of Russia to block YouTube? Well, basically because the Russian propaganda was cleared by YouTube itself, mostly. As you can see, I'm here still speaking about the war, but from the Ukrainian perspective, and let's say in favor of Ukraine. But all of those dead propaganda channels, they were cleared, I think mostly in 2022, but this year YouTube also continued to block many of the pro-Russian channels. So Russia actually losing their propaganda tool which they had on YouTube, and mostly have the pro-Ukrainian opinion on this platform, which I think is good in our current situation. However, it is not good for Russia, and also Russian economy shrinks little by little, and the information about it will be spread on YouTube. Everything of what is bad in Russia is spread on YouTube by bloggers, by me, but by the Russian bloggers themselves, so Russia just wants to cancel that opinion. And they've decided to block it as China did before. Well, we'll see if Russia is as successful as China in blocking the popular video hosting. Obviously for YouTube it's not good, they're losing their income, but in general it's not catastrophic for YouTube a lot. Their market is huge outside Russia. Alright, and now let's go to the other frontline updates. Russia continued to push towards Vozdvizhenka village. So it was yesterday and it is today. They moved towards this road. The village is not that big, so unfortunately I think that Russia with some time will be capable to occupy it, and they will have no obstacles on their way to reach this very important road. Also, Russia moved already to Novoselivka Persha village, so it was yesterday and it is today. Unfortunately, they gained more ground, so Novoselivka Persha will be also occupied by Russians. As you can see, they expand this huge bridgehead already, which was only possible because Ukraine lost the control over Avdiivka town. For this reason, Avdiivka was one of the most important settlements which Ukraine should have definitely defended. But by that time, Ukraine hadn't had enough resources for that. The military bill was voted only after Ukraine lost Avdiivka. And Russia also continued to move their bridgehead in New York village, expanding it sideways. And those are the only updates on the front lines today. And now, my friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.